Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this platform. Of course, this is the mentor Hambia Kliman from Helsb Learning Academy. Today, I'm going to be explaining to you the procedure that the Higher Education and Loans Board is using in order to simply give you your student loans. And I'm going to simplify everything so that it becomes easy for you to know whether you are going to get your loan or not. And of course, I'm also going to talk about quite a lot of things, especially to students that are coming at Mulungushi University. You are going to have a chance to be able to know how you will be able to get your accommodation, what you should be put into consideration, what you should not do, and of course, what you should do. So let's get started. Now, I'm going to start with the Helsb issue. So let's name it 1. So 1 is going to be called Helsb. Okay, so let me put it this way. This is going to be Helsb. Now, Helsb is actually using a concept that we call the 25%, 50%, 75%, and the 100% procedure. So this is the procedure that they are using to simply award student loans. Now, a lot of students actually get confused on how to interpret these particular percentages. Now, let's start with 25%. So, 25%, okay, by the way, it starts from, okay, let me put it this way. Okay, so I'm going to start with 0%. So 0%, what does it mean? So at 0%, you haven't yet submitted your documents. They haven't yet put into consideration that you have submitted anything. So at that particular moment, accordingly to Helsb, you haven't submitted your documents. So 0% simply means you haven't submitted your documents. Now, when you submit your documents and the system recognizes that your documents have been submitted, eventually your Helsb status portal shifts to 25%. Now, what exactly is 25%? 25% simply means you have submitted the documents. So 25% means documents have been submitted. Okay? Now, these documents, of course, comprise of your NRC, your grade 12 certificate, your acceptance letter, and quite your recommendation letters. You need to ensure that all your documents have been submitted, because if you don't submit all the necessary documents that are required, Helsb is going to send you a message requesting you to add the missing document, and that really is going to waste your time. The next one, after being recognized that you've submitted your application, your documents, apparently at 25%, you haven't been verified. Verification hasn't yet occurred. What only has happened is your documents have been received and welcomed at Helsb. Now, 50%, 50% simply means Helsb has checked your application and your supporting documents. Okay, so Helsb has checked, okay, and received your application. So your application letter, and also your documents, okay, your supporting documents, your application letter, they have been verified. Okay, they have been verified. So at 50%, basically what is happening is simply verification. Your documents have been verified. They've been confirmed to be received. They have been received, and they just have to go through them and see whether you qualify or not. That is basically what is happening. Okay, and of course they have to thoroughly check and ensure that all your necessary documents, like I mentioned, all your necessary documents must be put in place. Your NRS, of course, your passport size photos, your application letter, your recommendation letter, all those things must be put in place. If at all there is a missing document somewhere, then Helsb is simply going to send you they'll send you a feedback, okay, that you have to attach whatever is missing. Then from there it has to shift. From 50%, it has to go to 75%. Now, what does 75% mean? 75% simply means you have been shortlisted. Now, this does not mean that you have been awarded a student loan. No. Okay? It simply means that your application has been shortlisted. Okay? It is now being considered to be awarded a loan, but it hasn't yet been approved. Okay? So, once it is at 75%, you've been shortlisted or you've been shortlisted, and Helsb is now considering whether to award you a loan or not. Okay, so your application has been shortlisted, you've been shortlisted, and they're actually into consideration whether to give you the loan or not. Okay, that is exactly what is happening at 75%. And of course, many people actually get stuck at 75% because Helsb receives quite a lot of application letters. And because it's a student loan and not a bursary, it simply means it remains a business. When you obtain a loan, of course, you have to retain that loan with interest. Of course, you need to retain it back with interest. So provided you are returning back your loan with interest, it remains a business because it has to bring profit at the end. And because it's not a bursary that is being given to you for free, it's a loan, that simply means it will be awarded based on merit. Okay? It will be awarded based on merit. Now, what does this simply mean? This simply means that whenever you are choosing a program at a university, you need to ensure that you choose a program that is capable of being awarded a student loan. Very good example is if you want to study medicine, okay? If you want to study medicine, if you want a student loan, let's say of 100%, right? You need to ensure that what you obtained at least at grade 12 is actually decent. Because if you had, let's say, 18 points, you had 25 points, you have 30 points, or you had, I don't know, the number of points. it is basically very hard for them to consider you 100% student loan under this particular program. Why? Because those points, accordingly to them, do not really give so much hope that you might retain the money. Okay? Possibly, maybe you might fail or you might be excluded. You remain with a balance, and that really defaults them. So they would want to give to people that really have so much, okay, on their paper and stuff. So it is very important to actually even work extra hard. Okay, remember, it's a competition. People from different parts of Zambia are applying. They are giving you, they're actually taking the application letters. So you really need to fall within the circle. Programs such as business studies or business courses usually do not have so much competition. So here, even points like 15 points, 17 points, 18 points actually do proceed properly, okay, in this particular phase. They do proceed, okay? They do proceed. Business courses do proceed. Agricultural courses, those courses really that do not have so much competition actually proceed very well. It is very important to put that into consideration. Now, your documents at 75% are being considered for a loan award, but you haven't yet been awarded a loan. They haven't given you a loan yet. Now, this is the crucial phase, because at this particular phase, that is where a lot of people remain stuck. Okay, so a lot of people remain stuck at 25%. Sorry, 75%. So at 75%, that is where a lot of people actually remain stuck. Now, suppose your portal was to shift and eventually you meet all the requirements. After being shortlisted, you meet all the requirements, all the standards needed. Your portal eventually is going to shift to 100%. And once it shifts to 100%, it's going to show something like, eventually it's going to show something like screening. Once it reaches at this particular state, there is actually more hope. Why? Because when it is in the screening phase, it implies that you met all the required necessary things that were needed, and you stand 99.9% of being awarded 100% student loan. So make sure you put that into consideration. From the screening process, eventually, I would say congratulations, because you will have your student loan given to you. Now, depending with the application that you made, your student loan could be 25%, it can be 75%, it can be 50%, or in most cases, it is 100%. So this needs to be put into consideration. Okay, so from your screening, of course, you definitely be able to have your need. Now, let me make this particular emphasis. From here, Helsb eventually sends the list. Okay, so they are going to compile a list. So they compile a list. Now, the list is, of course, going to be sent on the Helsb official website. So they will send the list on their website. So the list will be sent on their website. A link is usually sent on their official page. Once the list is given to you, what next? You are not supposed to lose hope. You are supposed to ensure that you check thoroughly, because sometimes it's very possible. We've had cases where someone is not is at 50%, okay, stuck at 50%. Someone is stuck at 75%. but they get to have a chance of being on the list. Okay, you find yourself on the list while you got stuck at 75%. So sometimes you don't have to trust the online detail. You have to trust the list. When the list is given out, make sure you check, because it is possible you might be at 75% stuck, not knowing that you were being listed on the list. So it's very important for you to check for that. Now, after you've been given your list for students that are coming to Mulungushi University, what exactly is next? Okay, so here we're going to say once awarded. Now, once your list is awarded, you need to ensure that you start your preparations. There are quite a lot of things that are actually required for a student that is coming at university. You don't just need to be intelligent and also to be focused, but there are quite a lot of things that you must put into consideration. Of course, your equipments, your accommodation fee, your food, and also how you take good care of yourself. So the first thing that you must be able to put into consideration as you come at MU is make sure that you put God first. Okay, so make sure you put God first. Okay, make sure you put God first. Why am I saying you have to put God first? It's because when you come to an environment that is new, filled with a lot of people, different behaviors, it's very possible for you to lose focus and eventually indulge yourself in things that your parents never put in you. So you need to put God first to avoid confusion, temptations. Okay? So this is very important. Put it into consideration. The second thing that you should be able to do, let me talk about equipments or gadgets. So make sure that as you come to school, you must at least have a phone. Now, you would wonder, what type of a cell phone should I buy? Should I buy an iPhone? Should I buy an iPad? No need of that. Just make sure you get a phone that is decent enough with a strong battery. So I oftentimes encourage students to buy a new phone which has a strong battery. So get a new phone. Okay, get a new phone with a strong battery. Okay, so get a new phone, of course, with a strong battery. A phone is enough, okay, if you can't afford a laptop. But a laptop and a phone is actually a better combination. So if you can afford, get a laptop. Get a laptop. Why are you getting a laptop? Because when you are studying on a laptop, it's actually very easy for you to focus. When you are studying on a phone, you need to be very strong, because at any time you can receive a notification either from YouTube, from Facebook, from WhatsApp, and that is going to give you so much distraction. Not only that, remember, sometimes you might have an outage, there might not be power. So it's very important that you have enough battery in different gadgets so that you can have more quality time to study. Get a laptop, of course, get a new phone. Okay, so this is actually very, very important when it comes to the gadgets. This is actually enough. We come to payments. Payments, specifically accommodation, and this is what I really would want to talk about. Why is accommodation so important? It's because sometimes it's not easy for you to apply for accommodation on your portal. Okay, so applying for accommodation is not easy. So what is the next thing to do? Get a boarding house. across. Now, when getting a boarding house across, you have to be very careful because quite a lot of people are interested in your need. They know how desperate you are. They know how vulnerable you are. So you need to be very careful of people, especially those that claim to have what you need, because it's very possible to get scammed. It's possible to get, to lose your money in the process of finding your accommodation. So make sure you put this into consideration. And of course, for accommodation, this is my number. Let me put my number in case you have a question. So for accommodation, make sure you text 0777 66 40 46. Especially if you have someone who is recommending a boarding house, you can text me, you can ask me. I will know what to tell you so that you ask that particular person. You need to really get, their important details and stuff. So get a boarding house from across. Now, let me talk about something really very, very important. What are some of the things that you need to put into consideration as you get a boarding house? Number one, make sure that you have your accommodation fees enough. Now, when I say enough, I don't mean 10,000, 6,000, 5,000. What I mean is at least have more than 2,000. Why am I saying more than 2,000? Because I do actually sometimes go out there to find boarding houses for students that I mentor and stuff. And in most cases, or from my experience, most of the landlords would actually require that you pay 2 months in advance. So 2 months in advance for a boarding house at 1,000 is actually 2,000. So it's very important you put this into consideration. Not only that, you also carry some money for food. Now, money for food is actually very important because the first 2 months are actually very hard. They are very hard. Okay, so make sure that you have some money aside, put aside, so that you are able to have what is needed. Now, suppose you now get your boarding house, you are now accommodated, everything is set. What next? And this is what you will need to know. Okay? When you get in school, especially for you that are coming, so I'm going to put, this is going to be natural sciences. So it's going to be natural sciences. Okay. So for those of you that are coming for natural sciences, you need to ensure that you have a lab coat. Ensure that you've got safety boots. Ensure that you have goggles. Ensure that you have, of course, you need to get this from the registrar's office, of course. So you need an ID, which is very, very important, and other things. Now, this is where many people actually make a mistake, because when you get in school first time, you start playing around, you want to discover more. What is Mulungushi? What does Mulungushi have to offer? And because of that, many students actually find themselves failing. So to avoid this, when you get in university, the first time, make sure that you start studying. Okay? Start studying. Now, if you start studying, right? Sometimes it may be boring. You might not be able to understand. Make sure that you subscribe to this particular channel, Kliman Hampeo Mentor Organic Chemistry Tutor. So these would actually be able to help you more, especially when you start your learning. Now, there is an academy actually that offers tuitions for students at Mulungushi, mostly students at Mulungushi, it's called Helsb Learning Academy. So this is Helsb Learning Academy. Helsb Learning Academy offers tuitions in mathematical methods, which is MSM 1.1 for NS, MSM 1.3.1, which is for agricultural courses, and also mathematics for business courses, okay? Like accounts, banking and finance, etc. Okay? Chemistry, biology, and also Phi 101. We offer all these lessons. It's very important that you put this into consideration. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me for more lessons. This is actually an academic channel for students in their first years. And of course, if you want to register for personal tuitions, you want to start learning in advance, make sure you inbox on 0777 40 46. And if you want to be in my WhatsApp group where I mentor students, make sure you inbox me on that number and I'll be able to respond to you. Thank you.